Hold on, this gets strange. The most powerful man in America voluntarily gave up power when he could have kept it forever. At a time when the world was packed with kings, emperors, and rulers who clung to authority until death, one man simply walked away. You're watching Fact Harbor, and this decision may have changed history more than any battle he ever fought. Think about that for a second. The year is 1789. The United States is brand new, fragile, and surrounded by powerful nations waiting to see if this strange democratic experiment will collapse. The man standing at the center of it all is George Washington. And here's the weird part. Almost everyone trusted him. Not just a little, a lot. He was the hero of the Revolutionary War. He had led armies, survived impossible odds, and become a living legend while still alive. If there was one person Americans believed should be in charge, it was Washington. So when he became the first president, a question quietly began floating around the country. What happens when his term ends? Most people today assume the answer was obvious. Presidents serve a few years, elections happen, and somebody else takes it. But in the late 1700s, that wasn't normal at all. For thousands of years, powerful leaders usually stayed powerful. Kings inherited thrones. Emperors expanded their rule. Military heroes often turned into dictators. History was filled with men who discovered that giving up power was much harder than taking it. In fact, many Americans worried that their new republic might eventually become another monarchy. And honestly, they had reasons to worry. Because Washington wasn't just popular, he was practically untouchable. If he had wanted to stay in office indefinitely, who was going to stop? But that question leads to an even bigger mystery. Why didn't he try? The common myth is that Washington simply got tired and retired. That's only part of the story. Years earlier, he had already done something shocking. In 1783, after winning the Revolutionary War, he resigned his military command and returned home instead of using the army to seize control. The reaction was enormous. When word reached Europe, even King George III reportedly said that if Washington truly surrendered power and went back to private life, he would be the greatest man in the world. Think about how unbelievable that sounded at the time. A victorious general refusing power? That was almost unheard of. And yet, Washington was about to do something even more surprising. After serving one presidential term, Washington actually wanted to retire. His friends convinced him to stay for a second because the country was still unstable. Political parties were fighting. Foreign powers were watching closely. The United States needed credibility. So he agreed. But as the end of his second term approached in 1796, Washington made a decision that stunned many people. He would not run again. Not because he couldn't win, because he almost certainly would. He stepped aside deliberately. Washington believed that if one man remained president too long, future leaders might treat the office like a throne. Even if his intentions were good, the precedent could be dangerous. So he chose something bigger than personal power. He chose a principle. The presidency belonged to the country, not to him. And then he did the thing few powerful people in history ever managed to do. He left. But here's the twist most people never hear about. There was no constitutional limit preventing a third term. None. Washington wasn't following a rule. He was creating one. For more than 140 years, future presidents followed his example. Not because they had to, but because Washington's decision became an unwritten tradition. Then, in the 20th century, President Franklin D. Roosevelt won 4 terms during extraordinary national crises. After that, Americans officially added the 22nd Amendment, limiting presidents to 2 elected terms. The legal rule came much later. The original rule was simply Washington's example. What's fascinating is that Washington's greatest act may not have been winning independence. It may have been showing the world how power should end. Founding a nation is difficult. Walking away from control after you founded it might be even harder. So the next time you see George Washington's face on a dollar bill, remember this: his most important decision wasn't something he did while holding power. It was the moment he willingly let it go. In a world that expected another king, he showed people something almost revolutionary: a leader strong enough to leave. And if your brain just spent 5 minutes thinking, wait, the most powerful move was quitting, then maybe hit subscribe to Fact Harbor. It's cheaper than starting your own republic. Because sometimes the people who change history the most aren't the ones who grab power. They're the ones who know exactly when to put it down.